Here I am again with Ashley, my friend and holotropic breathwork facilitator. Um, and what I'd like to ask you, Ashley, is about the impact of holotropic breathwork. I was sharing with you a quote. I'm not sure if it was from Jamie Wheal or not, but the idea that altered states of consciousness, altered states leads to altered traits. It's
Mhm.
as I go through these experiences of altered states of consciousness, it can change and
Yes.
reorganize me in some ways, whether it's holotropic breathing or other practices. And I know there's been a good bit of research around psychedelics and trauma healing. That's really on like cutting edge research that's happening. Uh, One trauma researcher I know about, Besser Vanderkolk, Body Keeps the Score. He's a big proponent of
Mhm.
altered states of consciousness as a way of as really a key to healing some trauma.
Yeah.
So with all that said, from your perspective, what do you see the impact of holotropic breathing being on people, or what have you found that to be?
Well, actually, Matthew, I would say that the impact of holotropic breath work, the potential of the impact of holotropic breath work is is no less than the impact of the psychedelic work that they're doing so much research about now. In fact, Stan Grof, who is the one who has created holotropic breath work, he came to this country originally to do LSD research back in the late 1960s and early 1970s before the Nixon administration shut all that down. Okay. And he had seen people have such profound transformation that he couldn't bear the idea that there was no longer going to be a way to help people access what he had come to refer to as the healing potential of non ordinary states of consciousness. And so what he did was he realized that in indigenous cultures around the world, they all still had ways of entering into non ordinary states of consciousness. Some of them did involve psychoactive plants, but not all of them. And so he did he put his intention to studying side by side those indigenous cultures, looking for what would be the commonalities among them. And he found three things: some way of deliberately working with the breath, changing the pattern of the breath, the use of background accompaniment, music, or it could be clapping of hands, it could be rattles or drums. It didn't have to be elaborate music, but some kind of sonic background. And then that idea of set and setting, that the person was well supported as they were given the opportunity to enter into the non ordinary state. So, having arrived at this hypothesis that across all these indigenous cultures, these were the commonalities, Stan, who was at the Esalen Institute way back then in its early days, had a group of people who wanted to try something. He had them lie down, he had them breathe a little deeper, a little faster. He had field recordings from those indigenous communities around the world on, big 8-track reels. And he just told people, breathe a little deeper, breathe a little faster, and whatever wants to come up, allow it to come up. At the end of the day, he gave them art supplies because he had done that with the LSD study patients. And then he asked them to talk about their sessions, looking at the artwork, listening to what they talked about. He could not distinguish between people who had done this with breathwork or people who had done this with LSD.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the beauty of the breath work is that if you ingest a substance, whether you do it, in an underground setting or whether you have the opportunity to do it in one of these clinical trials that are happening, until your body metabolizes it, you're altered, you're out there. And the beauty of the breath work is that that's not the case. You could bring yourself out of it at any point in time that you chose to. If you felt like, okay, this is enough for today, or this is a little intense, and this is as long as I'm willing to feel it intense, you can come back out of it. The other thing about the work with the psychedelics is that it's going to be prescribed that people can only have a certain number of experiences. You can only have them so often, but breath work you can do anytime. Breath work you can do anytime. You can do it once a month. You could do it once a week if you wanted to. And then what are the impacts and how do they stay with you? Well, I think what they allow you to do, Matthew, is to confront some places that you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They allow you to come to realize that maybe some of the places that you're stuck is because you learned them as coping mechanisms at a different time in your life, and they worked then. And so you kept trying the same ones and you applied them to more and more situations. But maybe you've come to a point where it's time to transcend those old tools and find some new ones. But Matthew, we just don't have places in our culture to really learn these things. And we also have too many people in our cultures who will say, oh, here's this great modality. If you just do what I say every day for the rest of your life, then you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, you're giving over the authority, the authorship of your own life to another person or another
Guru,
system.
yeah.
And the thing about this work that is so lovely, that I just come back to again and again, is that all we're doing is creating an opportunity for you to have a dialogue with yourself that's not directed by your egoic mind. And, I used to be a person who carried a lot more fear in my life, fear of lots and lots and lots of different things. And I can't say that I don't still have claustrophobia. I do. But I don't live my life in such a tight little box as I lived it before.
Yeah.
Um, Matthew, I was raised in the Greek Orthodox Church, and I love the ritual and I love the liturgy. And then I spent a lot of years being an Air Force wife. And so all those, and I grew up in the South. So all those early years of my life, there were good, true, beautiful things in them, but there was lots of structure and there were lots of prescribed rules from outside. And through the breath work, I still love all those parts of my life as much as I ever did, but I love them with a sense of compassion and freedom and hope and generosity of spirit for every other way in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that the breath work has been instrumental in my coming to that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm thinking about, how you still love those places. It might be a Ken Wilber saying it's transcend and include.
Yes, I love that.
Not transcend and toss out, but
Right.
transcend and include it. And I
Right.
hear that. You know, as I hear you talking about your experience, it reminds me of participating in the breath work and how it connected me at different moments or different experiences of breathing
Mhm.
over the last few years, where it may have got me really in touch with my grief around
Mhm.
something that I didn't
Mhm.
know was there in that in kind of intense kind of way, that
Right.
maybe my journaling or my work with my spiritual director or any of that, which is all good and important
Yeah.
and helpful, but it just got to it in another, it just got there,
Mhm.
and I found myself in tears, or even my joy connected me with joy in some really profound ways. Uh, I had experiences with holotropic breath work where I felt like I was truly being commissioned,
Hmm.
like truly supported and like blessed
Yeah.
to step out into the world in like a full on, all in, loving,
Yeah.
like it was like really this empowering, you know, experience. I can think of the images now, the stories that were happening during that breath work that I still keep with me.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you're
yeah.
referring to something really important, Matthew, because like you say, you got in touch with your grief maybe in a way that you hadn't before. And it was like you were really there with your grief. You were re experiencing the grief as though you were in the moment with whatever it was that had triggered the grief. But at the same time, exactly at the same time that you were in it again, you also were witnessing it again. And that's the amazing thing in breath work, is that it's like you're doing both things with yourself at the same time. You might be reliving a moment, but you also, it's sort of like you're sitting on the branch of a tree just above it where you can watch it
Mm-hmm.
and you can see it with new eyes from how you were able to understand it when whatever it was happened the first time. And in those, with those new eyes and with that new understanding, there is relief and there is, compassion that blooms, and there is just it just opens things up instead of keeping it in like a tight little box where it had been before somewhere inside you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good
Wow.
work.
It's wonderful. Oh my gosh. I could say more and more
Yep.
and more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is a good place to stop to leave a little bit of
Okay.
mystery. That way, if you want to know more and you're watching, ask me or Ashley. Thank you so much, Ashley,
You
for
are
being with
welcome.
us. Yeah, it's so good to see you.
It's always good to be with you, Matthew. So long.
So long.